Brian Bridge, Lisa Owen, Radio Live Drive with Lisa Owen live in London.
It's 12 after 5 on Drive. Close to 140 Chinese workers have been given the go-ahead to help build a major hotel on Auckland's waterfront. Immigration New Zealand has approved the overseas painters, tilers, carpet layers and welders through till March next year. Ashley Church is the Chief Executive of the Property Institute. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Ryan. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, mate. They couldn't find local workers then?
Well, interesting. When you read the story, the detail of the story, they're indicating that the local workers are actually available, but they've made this application on the basis that they need, I think the term they use is a concentrated number of workers a large number of workers for a concentrated period of time. So it's an interesting explanation, and it's difficult to know what's behind that and what the details are. But, I suppose a lot of Kiwis would look at that and say, well, hey, look, if there's Kiwis available to do the work and they're ready and able, why aren't we using Kiwis in the first instance? So it does raise some questions.
And they've also given an undertaking to pay them, $26 to $35 an hour as well?
Yeah, which I'd imagine a few tradies in New Zealand probably wouldn't have sneezed at.
You'd think so.
I suppose, Ryan, it does raise a bigger issue, though, and that is that if there's going to be, whether we're talking about commercial construction such as this building, which is a park hired hotel, or whether we're talking about the construction of residential homes over the next 5 to 10 years, it does raise the issue that there are going to need to be more tradies than are probably currently available within the New Zealand workforce. So it's something we're kind of going to have to get used to. If we're going to build 100,000 homes, for example, under Twyford's program, we're going to need more people to actually do that.
And that's a big if. But why are these Chinese workers? Is it because the company hiring has links to China? Well,
that's the inference that you would draw immediately when you read it. I mean, that was the first thing that came to my mind. So I guess it's sort of a bit of xenophobia kicks in with a few Kiwis, and that's a very easy conclusion to jump to. Having said that, I do have some faith in Immigration New Zealand. If they have allowed this application, you have to assume that there is something compelling in the application that actually merits having made this decision. But you look at it and you wonder actually what's going on.
Well, is it a pipeline, poor planning situation, Ashley? Because as you say, the fine print, if you like, says they need them for a concentrated period of time. So they want them to come in, work furiously and get the job done. If local workers had known that these contracts were coming up, they could have planned in the same way seasonal workers can plan.
Oh, look, Lisa, I think that's very fair. And so, you could probably draw an argument that says that if they knew this project was coming up and they'd put the job out to the market earlier, that there would have been Kiwis, as you say, who would have been prepared to do it. But, coulda, woulda, shoulda, I guess, in some regards. The work's got to be done. And I have some sympathy both ways on this. The market is such at the moment that there are people, obviously, that would have loved to have taken that contract on. Having said that, I keep coming back to the fact that Immigration New Zealand has clearly made a decision based on perhaps some factors that we're not seeing in this that justify this decision. And it's going to be an issue that's... Sorry, Lisa, you carry on.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but we're going to have to go to a break soon. I just quickly want to get this question in, which is, you've said we're going to have to get used to it. How's that going to work when this government wants to cut back on immigration?
Oh, that's a really good question. So they did, prior to the election, they made it very clear. They were talking about numbers, I think, of upwards of 30,000 people. Over the last 6 months, they've really backpedaled on that number, and I think now there's a recognition that, in fact, that's just simply not going to be possible. And the irony of all of this is that over the next 2 or 3 years, you may actually see an increase in the numbers of immigrants rather than a reduction in those numbers. So watch the space.
Yeah, all right, Ashley.
We will.
We certainly will. And tomorrow, perhaps, we'll see something on that, Lisa, with the budget. Ashley Church is the Chief Executive of the Property Institute, talking to us there about the Auckland Hotel. It's being constructed down on the waterfront, and they're going to bring in 140 Chinese workers to do the work, carpet layers, welders, painters, tilers. They'll be here through till March next year to do all the work because apparently they couldn't source enough Kiwi workers in a short space of time to get the job done.
Radio Live News Update from News Hub. Winner, Best News Story.